aperture is a hole in the lens, and by changing the size of that hole, you're basically making your pictures brighter or darker. It really is that easy. Okay, maybe it's not that easy, but it's not that bad either, trust me. Before we get into aperture, we have to first learn what these things called f-stops are. F-stops are a measurement of how big the hole in your lens gets. You've probably seen them somewhere before. They're represented by the letter F with some number. And that number correlates to the size of the hole they're in. So does that mean the higher the f-stop number, the bigger the hole? God, no, that'd be way too easy. F-stop number and the size of the aperture hole are actually opposites. Meaning if you have a large f-stop number, the size of your hole is going to be smaller. And if you have a small f-stop number, the size of your hole is going to be bigger. That's a whole lot of information to take in. Okay, but terrible pun aside, when the aperture hole opens bigger, you'll get brighter pictures. And when it narrows down, you'll get darker pictures. So basically, the higher your f-stop number, the darker your images are going to be. And the lower your f-stop number, the brighter your images are going to be. I just had an idea of how to show you guys this better instead of me just talking to you, but we'll need to go to the studio for that. Okay, let's get going to the studio. Alright, we're going to play with this whiteboard. I'm going to draw 3 lines. And of these 3 lines, the top one is going to measure f-stops. This middle one's going to measure the size of your aperture hole. And this bottom one is your brightness. So your f-stops are going to go from small to large. So let's say small is 1.0 and large is 64. Your aperture is going to go from wide to narrow. And your brightness, well, it's only going to go to dark. Now if I take another pen, let's say this one, and I stick it on this side, and I want to move it from left to right, what's going to happen is you're going to increase your f-stop number from 1.0 to 64, narrow down that aperture, and your pictures are going to be a lot darker. Now if I change it from right to left, the opposite happens. Your f-stops will go from a big number, say 64 again, down to 1.0. That's a pretty small number. And your aperture is going to widen right up and brightening your images. And that's how aperture works with light. The hole itself changes size, and that size is measured in f-stops. Okay, let's go back outside. You're probably wondering, hey, why is this video still going? Well, that's because there's another thing that aperture does. That's right, the photography gods don't like to be nice. Aperture also controls this thing called depth of field. Take a look at this B-roll, for example. I'm tack sharp, but everything else, the background, the foreground, is all out of focus. This is one of the 2 types of depth of field. Alright, so here we are at the Vista Point. But before we actually go and film down there, I just really quickly want to show you the other type of depth of field. So here. Notice how the mountains in the background, this grass right here, and there's a Vista Point right here, it's all sharp. And even when I move my hand back and forth, it's still okay. Well, that's called deep depth of field. And that's the basic preview to the deep depth of field. I'm gonna go ahead and remind you guys what shallow depth of field looks like again, with a series of B-roll of me walking to that Vista Point right there. So let's get right to it. See how the background and foreground are blurry, but I'm still tack sharp? This is what you call shallow depth of field. I just had an idea how to better show you guys what depth of field is. But then I would need to go back to the studio to do it. And I mean, I just got here, look. Alright, let's go back to the studio then. Probably should have planned that better. Anyways, I'm going to show you guys how depth of field works with the help of this box. Pretend this box is your scene. Right now, everything in this scene is out of focus. And to represent focus, we're going to use this stack of multi-system paper. Whatever's in this yellow area will be in focus, and whatever's in these 2 cardboardy areas will be out of focus. When you change the focus ring like this on a lens, you're basically just moving this back and forth. You're not adding more or taking away from this yellow area. So what if you want to add more? What if you want to add another stack of paper? Like so. Well, in order to do that, you actually have to increase the aperture, increase the f-stop number. As you increase more f-stop number, you add more of these until eventually your whole scene can be in focus. But what if you want to take away from that? Like this. Maybe let's make it even more extreme. Let's just take both of them away and replace them with this, a single piece of paper. What if you want your focus to be so small that it's like this? Well, in order to do that, you have to decrease the aperture. And when you decrease the aperture, your focus area will be a lot smaller. Okay, maybe it's not that dramatic, but you get the gist. A smaller f-stop number will give you a smaller or shallower depth of field, which will get less things in focus, and a bigger f-stop number will get you a deep depth of field, which will give you more things in focus. Just to cement this idea, I'm going to show you a series of pictures to outline both shallow and deep depth of field. Let's go check it out. The best to do now is actually not to go out and practice. It's actually to subscribe to our channel. And while you're at it, get your family, your friends, your cat. We know cats love videos. And get them all to come and watch our stuff. Because we rock.